Okay, welcome to the Human Resource Management presentation lecture. This is the Begin Unit number 3. Please make sure that you have your notes available with you so that you can follow along as we go through Part 1 of the Human Resource Management material. In Part 1, we are going to go through exclusively what Human Resource Management is, and then also the recruiting process of being part of Human Resource Management. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, let's take a look and see what is an HR manager anyway? I mean, this is a very, very important job. This is the person who manages the human resource aspect of an organization. An HR manager is going to do a couple of different things. Human resources first are going to be the people employed in the business. These are the laborers, the employees. Now, HR management is part of the business that is concerned with recruiting and managing these employees. So one of the things that you might be asking is, what type of education does an HR manager need? Well, in order to be an HR manager, which is a very handsomely paying profession, by the way, I might add, you'll need a bachelor's degree in HR or business administration. You can also expand on that education and pursue a master's degree. But in order to be considered for an HR manager, a bachelor's degree and or business administration degree will do. All right, what are some important qualities of an HR manager? Well, when you're managing the human resource element of an organization, you have to have good decision-making skills. You have to be solid at interpersonal skills. You need to be able to have leadership skills and be willing to execute them. Organizational skills, as well as speaking skills. So if you're somebody who thinks that you have these skills, or these are the types of skills that you'd like to develop in yourself and possibly utilize them in some type of a career, HR might be the career for you. Now let's take a look at item number 4 and number 5. Let's take a look at an HR manager in terms of pay. The median pay, believe it or not, the average pay, $99,720 per year, just under 6 digits. Pretty impressive, which is roughly about $47.94 an hour. Now the job outlook for an HR manager, 13% increase, which is good. I mean, when you're looking at any type of profession that is growing, or the demand for those types of positions is growing, then chances are you're probably exploring a pretty decent career that's going to have good opportunities for you to become employed. All right, so when it comes to HR responsibilities, we are going to break this up, and this should look familiar to you. HR responsibilities as they reflect upon the 4 functions of management. So planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. In the planning phase, an HR manager is going to recruit, which is what we're going to be talking about exclusively in this presentation lecture part number 1. They then, in the organizing phase of the 4 functions of management, is going to hire employees. And then when it comes to leading, train them. And then finally to control, in the controlling phase, or the controlling function of management, going to evaluate them to make sure that they are doing their job correctly and they are improving as an employee, possibly positioning themselves for a raise in pay. All right, so let's take a look at this first phase. Let's take a look at recruit specifically. So when it comes to recruiting, let's take a look at 4 specific items. First of all, if you are an HR manager and you are recruiting, you have to first identify human resource needs. What do we need in terms of employees, and then go ahead and recruit that individual. Identify exact job responsibilities. So when somebody comes in as a particular worker, an employee doing a specific job, what is that job description going to be? So those responsibilities are going to be laid out in a job description. Number 3, can you promote, or do you need to hire new? Well, taking a look at this, we are going to have some extensive discussions on this particular concept here in particular, is which is a better route to go as a human resource manager, promote within or hire from the outside. And then finally determine where and how to recruit. Where are you going to look? Where are you going to have the best possible opportunity to find that employee that's going to fit best in your organization for that particular job that you're recruiting for? So these 4 elements of the recruiting process are going to be what drives an HR manager. Now, recruiting, determining HR needs. This is a video, and it's going to specifically be talking about the difference between centralized and decentralized. We are going to skip this slide here in the presentation lecture. This is something that we are going to be watching and doing some more activities with extensively in class next time we meet. All right, so when we're recruiting, determining HR needs. Centralized organization versus decentralized. And again, we will be watching the video on the previous slide next time we are in class to kind of reiterate some of these points. First of all, a centralized organization is going to be a company is all in one country. Now, if you're a worldwide company, now you become decentralized, meaning that your company is in multiple countries. We did an organization chart for our project grill. An organization chart basically lays out the responsibilities. This is a diagram that includes all of the jobs in the business and shows how they are related and who reports to who in terms of managers, supervisors, on and on. The line of organization. Line of organization, when it comes to determining HR needs, managers accomplish main objectives of the business, a direct chain of command. This is the hierarchy of who is supposed to report to who. Top management, these are the people at the very top. They make decisions that affect everyone. Those decisions then get related down to the middle management. Middle management are going to implement the decisions made by top management. And then supervisory managers are going to report to the middle managers, and they are going to be the ones who directly supervise the employees. So there's a hierarchy in place, which is also known as line organization. Here's an example of a line organization chart. If we break it up into the most simplest of terms, we have management as being top. Then we have different departments known as the development department, production department, and sales department. Now within those could be broken down into subcategories, say for example in development, hardware and software, in production, series and parts, and then in sales, north and south regions. This is just an example. Organizational charts obviously take on many shapes, many forms, depending upon the organization and depending upon those organizations' HR needs. Here's an example of another one. This is known as a line and staff organization, which is slightly different. This is where the staff provides support and advice for the line managers. So in this example, we have our president. And then from our president, before we even go down to our next level within the organization, which is the VP of production, VP of finance, and VP of marketing, the president is allowed to work with the legal department and the HR department before decisions are made or before different changes are made, and then communicated down to the lower levels of management to be filtered through the rest of the organization. So in this situation, president being advised by the legal department as well as human resource department before it goes to the VP of finance, production, and marketing, and then through to the head of the different departments within those subcategories of our VPs. Line and staff, line. Okay, next one, project organization. These are temporary organizations brought together from different parts of the business. So a project manager, within a different project, there could be a logistics manager, which is going to determine the flow of the project and make sure that everything that's in place in terms of scope of the project is doable and can be accomplished. The technical manager, the learning manager, and underneath those might be teams, technical team and also learning team. So what else do we have here in terms of possible hierarchies? Well, these are the three that we are going to focus on for right now: line and staff, and project organization. Now this HR role play activity, I just want you to take a look at this, but we will be doing this in class later on, and we will actually be going through this and executing this to kind of get you a little bit of a feel as to what an HR manager thinks about and has to do on a daily basis within his or her profession. All right, so when it comes to recruiting and identifying job responsibilities, remember, job description. This is a statement that describes the objectives of a job and its duties and responsibilities. So job description is basically what's going to be used in order to recruit employees and tell the employee this is what you're going to be responsible for doing in this particular position. Job specification. This document details the abilities, skills, educational level, and experience needed by an employee to perform the job. So these are all being communicated out to potential employees. This is what we are asking you to do. These are the skills that are going to be needed in order for you to perform this job. Now let's take a look at a product manager job description, for example. So here's one where we have the project manager job description, sample number 1. This is a job description, just a basic one that you might see if you were going to be applying for a position as a project manager. And it gives what the job description is, which is up here in this first paragraph. Then it's going to give what the project manager is expected to do, responsibilities, and then requirements in order for someone to be considered for this particular position. So these are the things that organizations put out there in order to recruit employees. Here's another one for a cruise director. And again, here we have the job profile, duties and responsibilities, as well as skills and specifications and education needed in order to be considered for this position. So when you're recruiting these people, you are actually looking for certain types of people, and you are breaking that down based off of these handouts or these descriptions, duties and responsibilities, skills and specifications, and education qualifiers in order to determine whether or not this employee should be applying for this job. All right, so what if we are going to recruit and where you decide to promote a new hire? If we promote, when we do this, we know the work ethic, we've put time in on this employee, we know exactly what he or she stands for. We know their skills, we've already put effort into them in training, therefore we know what we're going to get out of this employee. It is cheaper because the training process doesn't have to take place like it would if we were hiring new, and it is easier to find someone to replace that employee. Now, if we decide to hire new, that's going to propose some challenges as well. The new ideas, bringing somebody in from the outside who hasn't done things the way they've always been done, could be beneficial. New talent, somebody coming in from a different type of an organization, which might be able to bring a new spin on things. No one can fill the position, meaning that maybe we don't have anybody that can find this position if we hire new. So if we don't, no skin off of our hat, because there's really nothing changes from where we were before we started looking for this position. High cost of new hires. If we take a look at this handout here, or this little diagram here on the right-hand side of the slide, you can kind of take a look and see what these costs are going to be. Now, these are just estimates. Every organization is going to be slightly different, but it is going to be a higher cost in terms of financial as well as also resources to hire people from the outside. So if we take a look where and how when it comes to recruiting, we want to bring in prospective employees. It doesn't matter whether or not it's within the organization or outside of the organization. These are some of the things that we might be looking for. If we were going to go outside and try and find employees to bring in, we might go to college placement offices, we might go to job fairs, classified ads within the paper or different online mediums, employment agencies, word of mouth, and even technology. We may even use social media in a case like this. All aspects of where and how to recruit. Now, after we finish up our HR role play part 1, we are then going to conclude it with part 2. So we are going to be doing these in class to get you practice in seeing exactly what an HR manager does. All right, that concludes the presentation lecture part 1 on recruiting. Please make sure that you go back and view the slides as needed to complete the notes for section 1. I will see you next time we meet in class, and I will see you back here next time for part 2, hiring, as part of the HR unit presentation lecture.